What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Coffee Pod. My name is Chishi Zed.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, which is why when somebody told me that Ebony K. Williams had a sip, not a whole cup, we're talking about a sip of coffee, I didn't believe it. By the way, how do you like that coffee mug, man? You could get your own. Hit that link pinned to the top of the comment section. Now, the only reason I actually did believe it is because they were a subscriber, and I said, you know what? I know my subscribers don't lie, and they wouldn't lie to me. Let me go look this up. And then I saw this video with the headline, Ebony K. Williams says women should be getting wedding rings right alongside getting degrees. Guys, listen, think about this. She's telling women to get wedding rings. That's a touchy subject, Ebony. But you're telling them they should be getting wedding rings alongside degrees? Are you sure you want to say that? Because you know they don't drink coffee. They don't like the taste. They don't like the smell. Why would she do this? Why would she say this? I don't know. But could it be it's because it's true? Don't believe me? Check it out for yourself. Let's get it.
The reality that needs to be said out loud is that as black men age, their desirability increases. Thus, their optionality of women is always expanding. And the exact opposite is true for black women. As we age, doesn't matter how much money we accumulate, our degrees or professional accolades, the reality is that our marriage and partnership market value is depreciating with every passing year. No matter how good we look, no matter how fit we are, men are still seeing primarily our presumed dwindling fertility as a knock against us. And speaking of fertility, that is another reason that I want younger black women to seek marriage and partnership in college or right after, if that's what they choose. Because the number of college-educated black men is so low when compared to black college-educated women that we're all going to be targeting the same small pool of men. And as we heard today, on most campuses, there's like 7 black women students for every 1 black man student.
Must be nice. Must be nice.
Y'all do the math. So here's my advice. If you are
I don't need to do math to know that that man's killing it. Right, guys? And by the way, just because they get more degrees doesn't mean they're earning more, because they don't.
a young black woman in college, and you know in your heart and in your head that you want to prioritize family, I suggest that you simultaneously pursue that MRS degree right along with that BA or JD. Because the handful of black college-age men that actually do desire to get married soon, and they do share that value system, and family is a priority for them too, y'all, that is an incredibly small pool, and it's shrinking as you get older. And by the time you reach my age, 40, you will be faced with...
Damn. I'm sorry.
Different choices relating to life partnership and motherhood. Now, I'm not saying that delaying marriage or motherhood is a bad option, but it's one that comes with its own consequences. And our women deserve to know on the front end of their decision-making instead of on the back half.
All right, there you go, guys. And I just want to say, I got to be honest. I give her props. Because it took a lot to get back on there and pretty much admit that she was wrong about some things. She won't say it, but she knows the majority of women, and since we're talking about the black community, black women want relationships, long-term relationships with men that can possibly lead to marriage. They want this. Now, a lot of these boss, independent women will make it sound like women are walking away from marriage because they don't want anything to do with it. That's not true. That's not true. Women would love to meet the right type of guy. I have no problem. And I don't think anybody should care what I think about their decision to not want marriage or children, because I don't care. At the end of the day, I really don't. And Shisha, why do you make all these videos? I'm not on here trying to convince anybody. I stopped that bringing guests along and trying to get them to see things from different perspectives. You know, if you're inclined to value the same things that people on this channel happen to value, then welcome. And this is why overall this channel is for men, because the women were sick. They refused to drink the coffee. In fact, this reminded me a lot of the situation with Kendra G. You guys remember that? Where she talked about how the majority of the women that listen to her are single mothers, and talked about the ratio of men to women. They weren't trying to listen to that. They didn't want to hear math. What? Common sense.
You saying maybe you should not want a man with money so that you can find someone who makes you happy. And I am saying you should not push back on somebody's preference just so they can find happiness. That is a settlement. You should never encourage Black women to settle. The fact that Black
well,
women
let me just okay.
Please, can I finish my statement? Just
no, you can't. Let me no. Now you're gonna listen.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Now you're gonna listen. Because I listen to you, so now you're gonna listen.
Right.
It's getting heated.
It's giving pick me. It's giving pick me. It's giving pick me, and you do this to every Black woman that comes on here.
But you watch my show.
George, YouTube, listen, real quick. It's time to talk about the sponsor of today's video. And it could be you. Hear me out. If you enjoy the content produced here on the Coffee Pod, you can support by drinking coffee through one of my handcrafted coffee mugs right here. I've talked about this before, but I haven't gone into detail about what exactly goes into this coffee mug. What you see written around the mug there, all the different taglines from the Coffee Pod. Everybody knows the
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
And
Women.
along with
God damn it! You can't make this shit up!
So I first start with the plain black mug for your project. Then I clean and prep the mug so I can add my beautiful handwriting. Listen guys, I'm a podcaster, not an artist. I try my best. I then use an oil-based marker to write all the different taglines that we all love from the Coffee Pod. And once that's done, and hopefully there's not too many mistakes, but it happens a lot, I leave the mugs to dry for about an hour. That's when I begin prepping the art resin, which I would then use to apply and seal your custom mug, the outside of your mug. The resin works great to protect the writing once it's cured and firm. The curing process usually takes about 72 hours, and then bam, the resin is fully cured and firm. And finally, after 4 days, your custom mug is ready to be packaged and sent directly to your doorstep. In other words, for less than $2 an hour, I will handcraft a custom coffee mug for you, and you get to support the channel. Why would you drink coffee from some boring mug from some random store? And the worst part is they probably don't drink coffee. Hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section and get your custom mug today.
Click the link pinned to the top of the comment section to get your custom coffee mug today. And please do us all a favor and don't bitch about the price.
Honey,
But you here at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Get that shit out of here.
No, I'll have a tea actually.
God damn it!
Let's read some of these comments. If you don't believe me, you're going to see it. They switched on her, just like they'll turn on anybody who introduced a drop of espresso into their sweet teas. First comment here says, freeze your eggs, ladies, and get checked for fibroids with the heart emoji. Keep options open. That's good advice if it works, because it doesn't always turn out that way. It's not that easy to freeze your eggs. Sometimes it's not possible. Exhibit A.
So I have some sad news, and this is what's not talked about enough with egg freezing, and I think is really crucial to know. And I encourage anyone thinking about egg freezing to watch this video. So last week I made a video that reached a lot of you about egg freezing abroad and how it's 1/3 of the cost.
This is the story of a single 30-something living in New York City and heading to London to freeze my eggs.
I documented my journey daily and made a lot of fun videos for you guys. And I was so excited to share with you this really empowering, more affordable option. But for whatever reason, the universe decided, maybe it's Mercury retrograde, but my body just isn't ready. A lot of people talk about how easy the process gets and you get used to the shots, and yes, you're emotional, but you don't hear enough about the multiple rounds and the unsuccessful tries. So I guess I'll be talking about the not so perfect egg freezing journey. This is what our community is about strong, independent women living their true and authentic lives, finding their own happiness, their own timelines. And so I really appreciate your support and following along. The next few days, I'll make some videos about this.
There you guys go. Strong and independent women struggling to freeze their eggs. And there are a lot of women out here who are taking this route, including Ebony K. Williams. I did a video recently where she was trying to champion this term of single mother by choice. And I don't know if she got enough backlash from that video she did that she thought it would be irresponsible for her not to encourage that, understanding that most women probably want marriages and families. This was the video.
Black women are availing ourselves to all of the options that our hard work and circumstances currently afford us. And that means that single motherhood by choice is going to be an option that more and more black women consider and even exercise. So anybody that's in their feelings about that can go ahead and start to process right now. Because black women that have the privilege to embark upon this expensive and oftentimes lengthy process will increasingly decide to forego marriages and partnerships that do not serve us and that are not in our best interests. And now that bypassing those insufficient relationships does not have to come at the expense of motherhood, well, frankly, it's a whole new world. A world in which black women are no longer subject to the desperation of being chose, because now we get to do the choosing. And as we choose, we do have to contend with the reality of a dismally small supply of black sperm. Because most black women on this journey, we want to create children that look like us and that look like our families, and that means we want black sperm. And as we heard from Reese Brooks, it's the definition of slim pickings. And sometimes that means compromising on this aspect of your journey. Now, I am extremely fortunate that I was able to secure 2 vials of black sperm from California Cryobank when I embarked on this part of my journey last fall.
So there you guys go. She goes into detail, and it seems like some type of a promotional campaign. But when she said expensive, she wasn't kidding. If you do a quick Google search, you find out that egg freezing can cost up to $30,000. But the average cost is around $11,000, with the typical range being $8,000 to $15,000 per cycle if you pay out of pocket. And those cycles, like we found out, aren't guaranteed to be successful. Goes on to say, keep in mind storage fees will cost you anywhere from $500 to $1,000 annually. Now, if you think of like the average, is this a viable option for most single women? I don't think so. I don't think so. So let's read more comments, man, in response to Ebony K. Williams taking a sip of coffee and how the sisterhood turned on her, just like they did Kendra G, for speaking just a little bit of truth. First comment here says, stop putting that bullish in the air. Just another narrative for people to start believing that's absolutely false. And so this woman does not think that there is time constraints on capitalizing on the ideal candidate for a long-term relationship that leads to marriage and children. She thinks the idea that she is on some type of clock when it comes to her fertility is not true. This is crazy. She goes on to say, you would never hear a white woman on here saying we're aging, so no one's gonna marry us. Girl, go sit down. Now, for some reason, there's like this sect of black women who believe that white women aren't going through the same thing. They are.
Ladies, too many of you are dating like you have all the time in the world, and time is on your side. And I know this is not the kind of video you probably wanted to come across, but I will tell you, as a matchmaker who works with a lot of women in their 40s, time is not on your side. In fact, it only gets harder with every year. And if you want to be a wifey soon, you need to start acting like you are looking for your future husband. In other words, screening men off the basis of, are they marriage material? Is this the kind of guy who I could have a family with potentially? If the answer is no, get out.
Black women are going through it at, a higher degree, but white women are going through this. Doesn't matter the race. Any woman today who does not approach settling down, getting married strategically, and understand that there is a time limit and constraint to these things will find herself shit out of luck. Another comment here from another woman says, Lord, I'm sick of these damn conversations. They're getting tired of them. Another person here wrote, I don't know the data, but what I see is the younger people get married, the more likely they are divorcing before 40, then have kids from that divorce, and the man moves on and gets remarried, and the woman is left struggling to rebuild her life. And I don't know about everyone else, but my whole timeline is of black people 35 plus getting married. But this is just from my own network of people. I don't know. I'm interested to hear what other people's experience is. All right, so let's break this whole thing down. Here's the dating path for most women today. 18 to 27 a woman is typically in the streets. Now, the streets doesn't mean that she belongs to the streets. The streets means that she is dating. A young 20-something-year-old woman is typically dating for fun, experiences, and modern women today are not taught to have a long-term goal in mind. As in, they don't usually think about, man, I should probably stop sleeping around. I should probably stop entertaining toxic relationships, dating with the purpose until later on. That's that epiphany phase. Most women 18 to 27 will be attracted to men who provide for them a good time. They are implementing short-term mating strategies during that point in their life with no plans in most cases of tapping out or not experiencing too much damage. This is when Pookie, Tyrone, or any other guy, it's not always, Pookie, is getting all their attention. Now, this is also when a good number of them F up and reproduce with the fun guy who's not suitable for a long-term relationship. Or they go through so many toxic relationships and have so many traumatic experiences in blasted out here in the streets that they need the type of therapy a man needs after leaving war. And then 28 to around 31, right? This is when she's done with the toxic men and is now ready to settle down and date with a purpose. Sound familiar? This is that epiphany phase. It's also not by accident that around 28 is when the average woman gets married. Drink the coffee.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
Right before that dreaded number 30. Exact age, I think, is like 28.6 when a woman gets married. But while women are dreading 30 and having to drink that coffee and live out the consequences of some of the bad decisions they may have made during that time in the streets, the average man who is turning 30 is finally seeing his life take a turn for the better. The average man who turns 30 finally begins to ascend and increase his sexual market value. He's making more money. He's heading the right way in his career. And for the first time, a man's SMV will most likely be higher than a woman his same age. So then the question is, why don't women prepare for this? Because most of them don't. Well, because the media tells them that they could have it all. Society convinces them they could have it all. Just like you've seen in these comments, these chicks believe that they could have it all. It's all a myth. They think they can have it all. There's a magical man coming to save the day. You can have the parties, the girls and nights out, and you do not have to settle. I remember I did a video of Kevin Samuels actually trying to explain this concept to a woman. Let's check it out.
Your generation has been told you can have everything and there are no limits. And your world is your oyster. If the media messages have been telling women, don't worry about it, postpone marriage, later, and you can do whatever you want, so on and so forth. Why do you think that message exists? Because one, it keeps more consumers in the market. Two, women spend more than men. The messages are for the 73% of women who spend the dollar.
It's almost like Kevin Samuels was trying to help women, right? It's crazy to think that these are the same women that rejoiced at his death. But they didn't all do that. There are some women out here that drink coffee. Trust me, I know that as a man who is engaged myself. And so what happens when you look at a woman who's hit that 30 mark, and some even sooner, and you look at her and say, you know what, I don't want what you bring to the table. I don't like what I have to deal with. Either it's too much trauma from past relationships, or another man's kids, or you earn more than me and you think that makes you qualified to be in that masculine leadership role. Well, now you're the problem. It's never she didn't make the right decisions or society lies to women. It's because of your misogyny or the patriarchy. You want a younger woman so you can control her. You don't want to be a stepdad because that's only for real men. You can't handle a strong, combative woman because you're a weak little man. Drink that tea.
No, I'll have a tea, actually.
It's never the fact that women were lied to and they don't realize that there is a point in their lives at which they should now or should have in the past prioritize on settling down with the highest value man they could attract. No, it's your fault. This is when you start becoming the problem. Now, this doesn't mean that women can't get married after 30. However, it does mean that after 30, the likelihood of a man seeing her as a great investment for marriage will be lower. So they will only pursue casual relationship with these women, and in a lot of cases won't tell them the truth and just sell them dreams. Let's get back to these comments, man. Women weren't having it with Ebony K. Williams. This woman says, but we've been told this our whole lives. Once you hit 30/35, you're looked down upon for not being married, etc. They told us to put the books before the boys because they bring babies. But when we did that, we end up scolded, questioned, tell us what should we have done. It's not about putting one before the other. It's about deciding what you want out of life and understanding and accepting that you can't have it all. And you got to decide what you're willing to give and take. Another guy here chimed in and said, how'd the podcast talk make it to the news? Give it a break. Somebody else here says, taking relationship advice from someone who is single with an ex-husband is a weird flex, but go off, mama. They're not having it. Another person here says, y'all ain't tired of talking about the same shit. You see, the women who are tired of these conversations are the women who understand that there's no hope. The women who are the most upset about these conversations right here are the women who supposedly don't want marriage. They see this come up, this convo, and they just, eyes are getting rolled. They don't want to talk about it. They're like, shut up. I don't know. It's kind of like there's some stuff that needs to be worked out. There's some stuff that needs to be worked on here. We got a woman here who says, Kevin Samuels grinning in his grave. Rest in peace. Another comment here says, thank God I did not. I enjoyed every bit of my 20s. We know what that means. Yes. Again, those cheeks clap fast, not slow. She goes on to say, as a single woman, and what I wanted in my 20s, I don't want in my 30s. Makes sense, guys. We just talked about this. Whatever works best for you, though. God's timing is best. Oh, they're blaming it on God now. Don't let anyone rush you into anything out of fear. No, women will be as difficult as hell in relationships, talking about God doesn't want me to get married. No, man, you're just not ready. Another comment here says, what I got from this is that maybe we should consider dating outside of our race then. Again, this whole idea that this experience is only in the Black community, which is just wild to me. The laughing emojis, go where you are appreciated, not where you fight for leftovers. Okay, so because she was talking about Black. Well, most Black women want to date Black men. Now, you should date whoever you love. Doesn't matter the race. Got another man who says, well, there's a lot to unpack here. Lots. Bottom line, do whatever makes you happy and never date from a scarcity mindset. That's how you settle. Again, this guy's obviously pandering to the woman narrative, and I think he runs the whole podcast with the people on stage who talk. I've reacted to a couple of their videos on here. Doing what makes you happy should not, and I'll say this for men, because overall this is a men's channel, should not be your goal as a man. Life is not about happiness. And if you think life is about happiness, you be sadly disappointed at how not happy life can get. Life's too full of too much suffering to be about happiness. Happiness is the excuse a lot of women divorce their husbands. Life is about purpose. Life is about duty. It's not about happiness. Here's another comment that says, I personally decided to focus on my education and career. I dated, but I wasn't looking for anything too serious because I felt that a relationship would derail my goals. It worked for me. That may not be the case for everyone, but for me, it was the best decision I made. Now I have the man, a great career, and business that is doing well simultaneously, something that once seemed unattainable. You have to do what's best for you and find peace in the decisions you make. Life is not one size fits all. Don't settle for the sake of a title. Such horrible advice. She's a small percentage of a lot of women's life, how they turn out here. You shouldn't look at this and assume that life's going to play out for you in this way. Settling. That word settling, man. The problem with that word settling is most women think they're better than the men who are actually better than them. Here's another comment that says, normalize not listening to people and trusting yourself and the good Lord. Listen, guys, as somebody who's been very transparent and honest since the beginning of my channel, back when I was getting 200 views in a video because these topics interested me, I was honest and said, listen, I want to eventually have a 2-parent household for children that I plan to have, and want the type of dynamic where a woman embraces her strength and power as a woman and a man embraces his strength and power as a man. And of course, I'm talking about a woman being a nurturer to her family and a man being a provider, protector, and leading. I can't help but listen to this and realize just how crazy it is out here, man, for most men, which is why I'll never shoot down like the passport bros or people want to look for different alternatives to find a wife if you still value marriage. I didn't do that myself, even though most people who hear that I proposed to my fiance in Zambia think that she is Zambian. That wasn't the case. She's American. But I support guys who go to any lengths to avoid messing with women who are literally living in delusion. This is insane. And what's crazy is that all you have to do is give a lot of these women and some of these men enough time, and they will have to drink a coffee. They will. I don't see this getting better. You cannot save them all. Invest in cat food, because there'll be a lot of women out here, a lot of lonely women out here in the future. And people like to say, well, what about men? Men are used to loneliness. Men understand what it means to be alone. Women, on the other hand, never really truly understand what that's like. It's like the story with the woman who transitioned into a man and ended up deleting herself because she experienced what it was like to be a man. You're not ready for that. Guys, listen, as always, I wish you the best. Stay safe out here, stay informed. Leave your comments down below. I appreciate you as always for checking out yet another episode of The Coffee Pot. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.